presenting a little bit of a presentation and workshop on developing an artistic spiritual practice. Can go to the next slide. So I just want to acknowledge that we are, of course, on the unceded, unsurrendered territory of many First Nations, including the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples. I also want to recognize that making a line acknowledgement is merely the first step in a larger conversation, and it is an empty statement without the addition of actual actions. Okay, I would like to start with a little bit of a grounding and a little bit of a humming sound. So you may know that the sound Om is a sound that has been with us since arguably the beginning of the universe. And I utilize this sound to center myself and to resonate with the universe. So remember that Om has 4 syllables: A, U, M, and silence. So please join me. Breathe in. Beautiful. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so my name is Max Malada. Outside of drag, I go by Mescade or Mez. My pronouns are they, them, though you can also use he when I'm in drag. I've been a drag king for about 5 years. I've been illustrating and practicing art since childhood. More recently, I've been doing a lot of music, and I am also a 200-hour yoga teacher. So I have this little doodle just outlining a bunch of the aspects that go into my spiritual practice. The 5 main aspects are clown through the lineage of Richard Pochinko, yoga, mainly hatha yoga and kundalini yoga. And then I also have been following the Shaivist practices. I also utilize entheogens in my spiritual practice, and I was raised in Christianity, which was a bit of a basis for everything. Next slide, please. So I have a very strong belief that art is a normal human expression that every person has a right to engage in. I believe that art is a language. It's not just for good artists or real artists or anything like that. Every human has the potential to be an artist in their spirit, and every human has a right to engage with it to the extent that feels good to them, whether they're getting paid for it or not. Everyone has a right to practice. And so within the chakra system, chakra are the energetic systems that go throughout the body. There are 7 main chakras. And if you sort of group them together, they go from the bottom is the root chakra. It has to do with the physical world and the earth. To the top is the crown chakra, which has more to do with the spiritual aspects and the spirit that connects all of us. I want to highlight the ones that have to do the most with the arts. So one of them is the sacral chakra, the orange one. This is, we say, the sacral chakra has to do a lot with your artistic expression as well as sexuality, and that's where it lies in your body. I also want to highlight the blue throat chakra because this is the one that connects the ones in the middle that have to do with the sense of self to the higher consciousness. and it's the one that allows us to express ourselves, which comes into play a lot with artistic practices. Next slide, please. Oops, missed one. Okay, so I wanted to highlight some drawing advice that I got when I was undergoing my spiritual crisis. I found this video by, his username is Struthless, and this was a very good video called The Drawing Advice That Changed My Life. And the main point of it was how he got out of his drawing rut is to draw the exact same thing every single day. I believe what he did was draw a duck every single day. I had been going through a lot, and I was really getting into my head about what is my artistic practice. I have skills in so many different areas. How can I bring it together to serve the world as an artist? And it taught me a couple things when I practice this. It teaches you that whatever you bring, that's good enough. You don't have to work on something forever and keep dragging it out through days and days. Sometimes you can just bring something and work on it just for the set amount of time and put it out into the world. So if you go to the next slide, please. I practice this by drawing a clown every single day, even on the days where I had no time and I didn't know what to draw. I would just doodle a clown doing something different. They look different each day, and I ended up doing that every day for 50 days till I had 50 of them. And at that point, I had gone through my sense of self and my feelings about my own art and my confidence about my own art, and it really showed me that I can do that. I can create things. I don't have to feel like I can't create things or I'm not good enough. Yeah. So next slide, please. So my artistic process that I've developed throughout my lifetime, especially the past 5 years or so, includes, even though it's different depending on what I'm doing with my art or what I'm doing that day, the main aspects that I tend to bring into it are these 5 aspects. The first is cleaning and clearing. If we're looking at it with perspective to drag, I pretty much always take a shower first. People say cleanliness is next to godliness, and I find a lot of value in the idea that washing away and starting with a fresh slate is very powerful. Next, I tend to do some yoga. Yoga is very intuitive for me, and I'm going to talk more about yoga in a little bit, but I use it to warm up my body and really connect with my body. I've struggled a lot with dissociation from my body, so I find it's a really good practice for making sure that I can feel the different parts of my body and that I am in my body. So the next step is usually getting in drag. So as I'm getting in makeup and putting on the clothing, this forces me to interact with the costume and interact with different parts of clothing and symbols that really bring the character to life. There's always a moment when I'm in this process that I can look in the mirror and say, that's Max, he's here now. And there's a lot to say about physical objects having power. I've brought a few physical objects with me. So this is my doll Sybil. She is Max Malada's best friend. She's always there for him. And through the practice of bringing her with me to photo shoots or to different gigs that I'm performing, she absorbs that energy and has that consistency for me. throughout. And then, so the next step is movement creation. So this sort of comes from my clown practice of, so I've been trained in baby clown. Um, these are my masks two of my masks from Baby Clown and a third mask that I made to represent Max Malada. Yeah, in Pochinko Clown, we start with colors and then we bring them into the physical masks. And then once you have the physical masks, you start to learn more about them, touch them, and really see what's there and what they have to tell you. And then once you have that understanding, you can start to create movement. And I'm going to invite you all to experience a little bit of that with me. And then the final step is reflection and integration, which has been a very important aspect that I've learned with therapy as well as with entheogens, is that integration of the experiences that you have and the good aspects, the bad aspects, seeing how they hit in your soul can really help you decide what to keep, what to let go of, and where to go from there. Okay, next slide, please. I also just want to mention a little bit more about the teachers and the lineage that I've picked up through the years. So I've mentioned Pochinko Clown under John Turner. My yoga is, I've spent time at Shoshone Ashram in Colorado, which is Shivananda Yoga under Babaji Shambhavananda. I've also studied music at Seneca at York, which is the teachers there were great, helped me a lot. I also follow a lot of Alex Gray with the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors. I also have a mentor connection with Carl Learmont of Angel Spit, who does open discussions every Saturday titled The Art of Rock. And I also have had a lot of very, very helpful advice from my therapists. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. The definition of ritual is a religious or solemn ceremony consisting of a series of actions performed according to a prescribed order. So I would say that for me, getting in drag is definitely a ritual. And even if I'm performing or interacting with art in a way outside of drag, I still always come to it in a ritualistic way. I've mentioned my physical connections to that, and as well as yoga is a ritual for me to come into my body. Yeah, and I feel like humans have an innate sense for ritual. This is something that those of us with obsessive compulsive disorder also experience. So there's definitely sort of a line between ritual, which helps and serves, and things that may become sort of idiosyncratic. So a mindfulness aspect is to always keep in mind how things are serving you, and how and what the intention is and what the goals are, rather than just going through them mindlessly. So I would like to just open up with a little bit of a question. Does anyone have any ritual that they would like to share that they use within an artistic practice? Sure, we're going to have a microphone for folks. If anyone would like to comment. No need to be shy. You can just say something I've already said.
Well, I was saying earlier, my drag is certainly a ritual. Like, yeah. Funky. I was saying earlier, my drag is a ritual as well. Music is quite ritualistic for me too. Um, yeah, there's a whole number of things that I think about. Walking under trees is a big one. Sitting by the water, very very ritualistic for me. Um, Anybody else? Did you? Other.
I like that Jules mentioned music. Music is a really good connection.
Hello, this is John Joseph. Yes, no, it was actually great to be in this space. I came here in 1986 when it was very homophobic, so it's wonderful and a beyond blessing to be in this space right now. So for me, when I'm creative, I go into a Zen moment, and whenever I can, and so I'll share two pieces. One, many years ago, I loved making sandcastles, and I was on the shores of Lake Huron, and I made a 9-hour sandcastle. And it started out as an Aztec pyramid in the center, and then there was two Parthenons, and then there was two Sphinxes, and then by the end there was a medieval wall around it. It was about 9 meters, by 9 feet by 9 feet. But someone said to me, "You have something inside of you that's coming out," and it was like I was channeling every architect ever. Then I was on retreat at Loyola House, and when people say to me, "There's an arts and crafts room," I just go crazy in a good way. And I remember there was a room filled with, well, I went to the pastels. And I think I spent several hours in this mode of creating a tree that, if you think of it, the tree that the roots went off the page and that the branches went off the page, and there was lots of fruit on it, and then there was lots of color from top to bottom, like the sunset or sunrise. But it was quite remarkable in the sense that, again, I was in the mode. It was coming through me. I use the expression. It was already intact in my imagination. It was just waiting to come out through my fingers. That's the best way to describe it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I do agree that once this is sort of why I'm really excited to share with you different ways to foster an artistic practice, because it can it can be challenging to get to that point, but once you're at that point of really feeling in the flow and inspired, it really is just you're channeling spirit into your art. You don't even have to think about it. You're just following impulses, and uh, you don't have to worry or wonder what you're doing. You're just um, and it's not always like that, and you do have to put in the work to get to the points that are like that. But those moments are always so beautiful. Okay, let me see where I'm at in this PowerPoint. Um, I okay. So the next slide, please. Just going to talk a little bit about yoga and why yoga is important to me and what I can share about it. So yoga is a practice that has been developed over thousands and thousands of years. It was developed alongside Buddhism, and Buddhism is the science of thought and meditation. Um, just that pure sense of studying the mind. So it's alongside Buddhism being developed, there was also a need for a practice of the physical body, and so there's many different lineages of yoga depending on who developed it and what parts of the world. But in every sense, the word yoga means the word yoke. So it literally means, if you think of a horse or a cattle with that you would pull by a yoke, um, that is what it is, joining the physical body to the spiritual self. So yoga is not only doing the asanas, doing the poses that we're familiar with. It can also be anything that you do that makes you feel like you're in your body. A big thing, a thing that a lot of monks do is walking meditation, which is meditating while walking and translating the movement of walking into a meditative state. I feel like Jules touched on this with their mentioning that they really like to go on walks. And for some people, drawing, illustrating, practicing art can also be that. But in my practice and a lot of other people, I find that doing the yoga asanas really helps my entire body feel connected to the spirit in that way. Okay, if we go to the next slide, I am going to invite us all to participate in a little bit of my practices. So the same guideline of the same 5 things. Please stay. Don't feel intimidated. I really want everyone to just be able to dip their toes in a way that is comfortable. I'm going to give some prompts, and feel free to join. Just take care of yourselves as we're, and keep reflecting on how you feel. So the first step is clearing. So for today, I'm going to just clear the air and the vibrations a little bit with my singing bowl. Beautiful. Okay, the next step is centering and feeling in the body. I'm going to invite everyone that feels up to it to stand up, and we're going to do a forward fold / a forward bend. Breathe in, grow tall through the top of your head towards the ceiling. Breathe in again. And on the exhale, hinge forward right at the hips. Come down as far as you're comfortable. Let every vertebrae stretch and bend. Maybe you can touch the floor, maybe not. Let your arms hang over. Let the gravity let go all the tension from your muscles. Take a breath in and out with your vertebrae stretched. Now start to inhale, and very gently and slowly, starting from the very bottom vertebrae, just stack the next vertebrae on top of that one. Stack each vertebrae on top of another. Keep your head overhanged and loose. This is a back roll. Very nice way to reset the spine. And if we're feeling up to a little bit more movement, let's do a twist side to side. Activate those arms, those shoulders. If we're feeling up to a little bit more, we can do a leg stretch on one side. If you don't want to go for the full stretch today, you can just do a little lift and an ankle roll. Breathing. Put that down. Try it on the other side. And keep the mind with the body. Observe in the mind. Does your body feel different? Do you feel like you've provided your muscles with oxygen? Is there anything else you need to do? Would you like to go add more onto this practice? Do you feel like maybe that's enough to keep going? For now, we're going to keep going. So the next step, you're free to sit at this point. Now, at this step in my drag process, I would be putting on makeup and getting that physical aspect. I invite you to think about a symbol, a physical symbol of your artistic practice, whether that is something that you use, a tool that you use, or maybe a piece of jewelry that you feel has to do with this, or maybe an object that you have on display in your home, or a token that you've received as a gift. I invite you to think about objects that those may be, and reflect on the intention to bring that with you into your artistic practice every time you come to the artistic practice. For me, I try to have Sybil with me, but I also have a lot of rings and jewelry that I tend to use that I feel are very imbued with my artistic practice, as well as, of course, the clothing that I use in drag. So I'm going to do a little bit of some Pochinko clown visualization. I'm going to start with, so as you reflect on your artistic practice, choose one word that has to do with your practice, whether that's a name that you use as an artist, or maybe just the act that you do. Like if you're talking about drawing, maybe it's drawing. So think of that word. Reflect on the letters in that word and the sound of that word as it would feel on your lips. Now I invite you to mouth that word. Feel that word on your lips. Now I invite you to breathe that word without the sound of the syllables, just as a f. For me, it would sound like f, 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 f. It may sound different to you. Breathe that word. Now, feel that sense. Remember how that felt. F, 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 f. How did that feel in your mouth? If you translated that into your hand, how would that feel? Maybe in your other hand, how would that feel? maybe in the foot, and you guessed it, the other foot. Okay, now we're exploring the feeling of this word throughout the body. This is one of the reasons the body. We're visualizing and practicing with actual movements, practicing different ways that we can become all-encompassing in this sense of artistic duty. We can practice this in different parts of the body, maybe just the pinky finger, maybe in the hips, maybe the knees. So continue to play around. Surprise yourself. Let yourself feel it in a part of your body that you don't expect. How does that feel? Were you expecting to do that? Are you surprised that you would make that movement? So that's one wonderful way to start creating movement. In clown practice, we tend to use practices like this and make them into bigger movements, whether that is an exploration of how to react to a person in a scene, or how to react to a prop, or how to embody fully a character, because the clown character will have movements that are very individual to them. Now for the final step, the journaling and the reflection, I invite you to take a moment to reflect on how it felt to undergo this practice of ritual with me. You're free to make a note on your phone or just reflect in your mind or on paper of how did this feel? Did it work for you? Maybe it didn't work for you. Maybe you wish something was added or taken away. Maybe you're surprised at how something resonated with you. A couple more seconds to finish these thoughts. Okay, thank you so much for going through these steps with me. I have a little bit more of comments I wanted to share about clowning. Next slide, please. So for me, clowning as a practice is the practice of engaging with play. I always say that play is something that is so instinctive to us as humans that we don't always get a chance to participate in. We do it so instinctively as babies and as children, and as adults we don't get a lot of chances to engage in play. I always think of that experience if you're able to interact with a child and you find yourself just playing around with them, playing peekaboo or using silly voices or whatever, and you find that you're just you may be surprised that you're just, oh, I just acted like I'm not myself for a little bit. It's a really beautiful experience of being able to get into that space that we don't really have as adults, and that's why a lot of us clowns use it as a practice to keep ourselves coming back to that place. Clowning for me and many other people is very spiritual because, as I was mentioning, the aspect of sometimes when you're creating art, you're just channeling spirit and not thinking about it because you've taken away things that stop you from channeling. And in Richard Pochinko's, so he had developed his method and he saw it as reverse therapy. So instead of ridding yourself of your anxieties, the clown performer leans into their insecurities in order to package them as comedy. It's a very intense experience to be to come out onto a stage and not know what you're going to do. Just walk onto the stage, make eye contact with every person in the crowd, and maybe you react in some way and it makes everybody laugh. And there's such an honesty to it, and I hope that everyone can consider that and take something from that. Okay, next slide, please. I also, a lot of my fascination with clown comes from its role in Commedia dell'arte. So back in the Middle Ages in Italy, there were troops of performers that would travel from town to town, and there were characters that they would tend to play. So Arlecchino tended to be the main everyman, the fool that was the protagonist. There were, we have an example of 8 of those roles that were found in Commedia. There was the lovers, the doctor, the captain, and a bunch of others. And I feel that with Commedia, as well as modern clowning, these are tools that help us tap into the archetypes. I have the archetypes here as found by Carl Jung. You can also, I can't remember the author's name, but she wrote Anatomy of the Spirit. She also talks a lot of the archetypes. I find that we have all of these archetypes within us. Some of us, if you explore your archetypes, you'll find some that may be more present for you than others. And I find it really great to use art to explore these archetypes and let them speak for themselves and see what they have to say. Okay, I believe we are coming to an end. Let's go to the next slide, please. So just to sum up this presentation, consistency is the key. As I showed my ground drawings in the beginning, sometimes all you have to do is show up and create something. As we do this, we will find that we end up creating rituals. So pay attention to what happens when you show up, what kind of rituals happen. In yoga, we say that the hardest part is showing up to the mat, because, and it happens in art too, sometimes the hardest part is sitting at the desk and just starting. So if you create consistency and whatever rituals, whether that's lighting incense or candles, or having special objects, or having a physical practice that brings you into it, consistency and rituals can bring you to the space. And a purpose for this is to connect the body to the mind, to the imagination. These three parts of yourself are parts that come into play while we're creating art. And we have to nourish and foster the body as well as the mind, as well as the imagination. And the last point is the importance of community. I mentioned my teachers that I've gained knowledge and nourishment from over the years. I'm so thankful that I've been able to gain knowledge and practices from them. I encourage you to find places that you may gain trusted knowledge from people that may have different perspectives or may know more about certain things. And this can be from people that you already see as teachers, or it can also be from people that we have in our communities. It's very important for everyone to find communities that they feel safe in and that they feel welcomed and that they feel seen and like they can practice being themselves. Okay, let's go to the next slide for finishing up. My name is Max Malada, also known as Mez. You can find me on Instagram and on Facebook. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions or any feedback. I love speaking about this kind of stuff. It's been my passion in life, and I really hope to continue doing these kind of guided things as well as teaching yoga. I have a passion for teaching yoga to other queer people and disenfranchised people. Currently, I am doing that. I'm teaching yoga for queer people between the ages of 20 and 30 every Tuesday at the George Chivulo Neighborhood Center. I encourage you to recommend folks go there because it's completely free. And I just really love sharing it with everyone. But yeah, find me online. Feel free to come up to me and ask any questions you have. And I'll be performing tonight as part of the drag show. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone.
Oh my gosh, let's give another little clap. That was so great. I love hearing other people talk about clowning. So great. Thank you so much, Max. That was so delightful. I'm like in my feelings a little bit about it. We are going to have dinner now in about 15 minutes. They're on the way with the pizza. So pizza is going to arrive shortly. And I know, very exciting. It's really retreat vibes. So if you put any dietary needs or anything that you have in your form, those are all going to be met. Promise, we'll take care of you. So pizza will be here shortly, and that will be back where we were having coffee, drinks, etc. earlier in the day. The drag show will start here at 7:00. The doors, we're going to open them at 6:30. So we've been running a little behind today, but the show's going to start on time. So please make sure you eat. Do what you need to do, maybe do some stretching, go for a walk, feel how you need to feel, and then we'll be back in here after dinner. Okay, thanks so much, everybody.